Today, we are reacting to the one and only Ben the Shapiro. Let's get started.
Hi, I just wanted to say that obviously Hamas is evil and bad. Like, I don't support religious extremism or fundamentalism in any, don't laugh at me, thank you, but religious extremism or fundamentalism in any form. However, to me, what I'm just really confused on is why you don't support the citizens of the people living in Gaza and the West Bank, why you don't support them being able to also live inside of Israel.
Why would you want the people from Gaza who chant for the destruction of Israel and for the destruction of the Jewish land to live in your country? They would create an Islamic Arabic law and compromise the well-being of the Israelis living in proper Israel. Why would we allow that? It's common sense.
Why don't I support them being able to live inside of Israel? Because they would immediately vote to destroy the state of Israel and interpolate another terrorist group like Hamas or the Palestinian Authority, endangering every Jew in the region. Everyone knows this. A single state is not a solution. It would endanger every Jewish life in the region. This is why Israel has pursued a two-state solution. It's why the international community wants a two-state solution. The only party that doesn't actually want some sort of two-state solution seems to be the Palestinian Authority, which has rejected every deal ever put in front of it, and Hamas, which is seeking to kill Jews in, by the way, a non-settlement area. That's not even an area that's controversial. That is not even a disputed area where they were murdering Jews. That was just outside the Gaza Strip. That's been Israeli territory since 1947-48.
Historically speaking, okay.
Let me ask you a quick counter question. America is a country of 330 million people. There are 1 billion Muslims across the earth. Many of them live in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and have very, very different opinions on politics and women's rights than I assume you do. You proclaim that you're secular and you don't like religious fundamentalism. How would you feel about importing, say, 300 million of those people into the United States? Would that make you feel like, is that a good idea or a bad idea?
I believe the reason that those people are, I believe the reason why they are religiously extreme is because of the conditions that they live under, because of the actions of America.
That's absurd.
What the hell did she just say? No. They are religious extremists because they take the Quran to a whole other level. For example, ISIS is a terrorist organization that takes the Quran and tries to interpret it to the letter and tries to implement the things written in the Quran in real life. So it's not because of the conditions that are being posed onto them. It's because they want to dominate and control the world. That is clearly mentioned in the Quran in Surah 9:33. And let me read it for you, just so we have some clarity. He is the one who has sent his messenger with true guidance and the religion of truth, making it prevail over all others, even to the dismay of the polytheists. Islam is meant to prevail over other religions. It's in the Quran, and they will do everything in their power to do so. They oppose the West because the West is against their values, against their Muslim values. So this is an absurd accusation.
Foolish. I'm sorry, that's absurd and foolish.
That's not absurd and foolish at all. Okay.
Yeah, and the reason that's absurd and foolish is because religious fundamentalism in the Islamic world did not begin in the year 1948. To pretend otherwise is to ignore literally all of Middle Eastern history. I mean, the fact of the matter is that since the time of Muhammad, and really since the year about 1100, when moderate Islam was pushed off to the side and the printing press was banned, the Islamic world has been replete with fundamentalism and extremism, repression of women, destruction of religious minorities or subjugation of religious minorities. All the happy talk about how everybody was living in some sort of utopian paradise where Jews were treated wonderfully is belied by the actual facts on the ground under the Ottoman Empire, under Arab-speaking empires. Again, this idea that religious fundamentalism is driven by the West is honestly, it's so narcissistic on the part of Westerners to believe that the only reason that religious Muslims believe what religious Muslims believe is because of us. I promise you, religious Muslims don't believe what they believe because of you. They believe what they believe because of what they believe. And it's a soft bigotry of low expectations to pretend that radical Muslims don't have opinions.
Yep, that sums it up.
Of their own. It must simply be driven by their lack of material success. That is not how the world works. People don't all think like you. It's okay. No, let her respond, please. That's fine.
Obviously, not everyone thinks like I do. However, when you are put into a situation where when people are backed into a corner and they don't have proper conditions to live under, they're way more likely to resort to religious fundamentalism. They're way more likely to resort to extremism in general.
I don't disagree with that, but I will deny that that's the West's fault.
Hamas is in terms of like just the other neighboring Arab countries, I don't think a continual war and in the Middle East and all the stuff that America did in the Middle East, which I'm sure you have criticisms of. I don't think that that really helped get rid of the influence of groups like ISIS or Al Qaeda, because that just...
Well, I mean, it certainly helped get rid of some of the influence of ISIS because we killed a huge number of them. But again, the notion that ISIS and Al Qaeda and all terrorism is to blame on the West ignores all of Islamic history and the history of the region. It ignores the fact that there were Islamic invasions of Europe back in the 1300s. Again, this sort of ignorance of history that is rooted in the idea that all the forces you see today must be the result.
There has been Islamic attacks against Jews in particular since the 7th century when Muhammad came to be. I can give you examples of the Jews of Khaybar that were beheaded by Muslims because they weren't willing to submit to Muhammad and his army. I can give you examples from the year 1033 in Fez in Morocco. About 6,000 Jews were brutally killed because of their religion. Same applies to the second Fez massacre. Same applies to the Hebron massacre in 1517 in Ottoman Palestine. This has nothing to do with the West. It has to do with Islam trying to create Islamic caliphates, trying to prevail over other religions, trying to prevail over the world. Therefore, this girl's accusations are incorrect and they are false.
Of things that America is doing or the West is doing. I don't see any evidence for that. The times, by the way, when the Arab Street has risen up, they promptly replaced more moderate dictators with things like the Muslim Brotherhood.
And by the way, Islamic terror groups also commit terror attacks against their own Muslim brothers and sisters because they don't believe in the path of one sect of Islam, Sunni or Shia.
Which is exactly what happened during the so-called Arab Spring when they took over for Mohammed Morsi and promptly put in place the Muslim Brotherhood. You can keep blaming economics until the cows come home. You know what the solution to that would be, by the way? I have a solution for this. If what you're saying is right, I have a solution for this. Here's the solution. In 2005, Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is an area that is less population dense than both Singapore and Hong Kong. Hundreds of millions, nay, billions of dollars flowed into the Gaza Strip. If people there, and Hamas in particular, really wanted to develop the lives of their citizens and make them better, they could have, and they should. And yet I see very little demand for that. At a certain point, people are going to have to take responsibility for their own actions and stop blaming America and the West for making shitty decisions. I appreciate it.
Israelis would never agree to absorb the Gazans into Israel, ever. People always say Hamas, Hamas, Jihad, Jihad, Hezbollah, Hezbollah. At the end of the day, the people who are celebrating the deaths and the murders and all of these atrocities are the civilians. These are the people that say that all of their sons and daughters should become shaheeds and should, go to Allah to celebrate with the 72 virgins. It's the civilians. It's not only the terror groups. Now, people say, well, there's moderate Islam, there's radical Islam. At the end of the day, the moderate Muslims, I don't see a lot of them condemning Hamas. I don't see a lot of them condemning Hezbollah. You don't see moderate Islam condemning them. And it doesn't matter if there's moderate Muslims around the world who are, let's say, 1.5 billion, 1.6 billion. It's enough for a small minority to be extreme, to make the Twin Towers collapse, to kill people at a concert in the UK, to do a truck ramming into an audience walking down the street. It's enough for a minority to decide to take action and to completely terrorize an entire civilization. So I don't wish for the day that the Gazans will be absorbed into Israel. I don't wish for the day that people from Judea and Samaria, Arabs from Judea and Samaria will be absorbed into Israel, because then you will put serpents inside a free land, a happy land that will try to strike every chance they get until they terrorize all of the people in Israel. They committed terror attacks in the region before Israel was a country. They committed attacks in Hebron in 1834. They killed about 500 Jews. They committed terror attacks in the 1920s. The Jaffa riots. Before Israel was a country. Why? Ask yourself, why? Thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate all of the people that stayed until this point because it helps me with the algorithm. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification button so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Official Sahar TV, bring it fire to the beat. Official Sahar TV. Official Sahar TV.